One of the most important decisions in a music copyright case came in the case of Three Boys Music versus Michael Bolton. Following the success of their million-selling 1959 single Shout, Kelly, Rudy and Ronnie Isley, better known as the Isley Brothers, set up their own publishing company called Three Boys Music, so that they could have full ownership of this and any future hit records. But it was one of their lesser-known songs that became the subject of a landmark copyright case. In 1994, a jury found that Michael Bolton's 1991 hit, Love is a Wonderful Thing, infringed on the copyright of a 1964 Isley Brothers track of the same name.
Love is a wonderful thing. I said love is a wonderful thing.
In this case, it wasn't argued that Michael Bolton knowingly copied the track, merely that his song was substantially similar and that he had access to the Isley Brothers song. By access, they just meant that he'd heard it, or could possibly have heard it. They argued that the fact that the song had been played numerous times on the radio stations in the town where Michael Bolton grew up, at the time he was listening to the Isley Brothers and other R&B artists, was proof of access. They also had testimony that Bolton had on more than one occasion professed to knowing the entire Isley Brothers catalogue. There was also an audio recording from the demo session of Michael Bolton asking his co-writer if they'd accidentally copied an existing song, although it was Marvin Gaye's version of Some Kind of Wonderful he had in mind. They used the testimony of musicologists to show the similarity between Bolton's song and the Isleys, and argued he subconsciously copied it. The court ruled against Michael Bolton and awarded $5.4 million in damages, the highest ever awarded in a music plagiarism case at the time. What's unusual about this verdict is that they cited the case of George Harrison's My Sweet Lord, where it was judged he subconsciously copied another song, He's So Fine by the Chiffons. He's So Fine was a #1 hit record that spent 4 weeks at the top of the US charts and months in the top 100. In contrast, the Isley Brothers song didn't break the top 100, peaking at 110. It's hard to argue that it's likely someone listening to that style of music at that time would had to have heard the Isley Brothers song enough times to be able to subconsciously copy it. The main similarity is the title of the two songs, which then makes the choruses sound somewhat similar, as there's only so many ways to write an R&B gospel-style melody around that phrase. The identical titles alone is not enough to constitute an infringement. As Bolton's defence pointed out, at that time there were more than 120 other songs called Love is a Wonderful Thing registered with the US Copyright Office. None of those writers had sued him for infringement, or each other for that matter. Like many other copyright cases with puzzling results, the precedents set in previous cases played a huge part. It was established in the 1946 case of Ira Arnstein versus Cole Porter that the judgment of whether two songs are substantially similar should be made from the point of view of the lay hearer, an everyday person with no specific knowledge of music. It was the judge's view that as the point of copyright was to protect the potential financial returns of the owner, what was important was would the consumer be fooled. This meant that any would-be plaintiff in a copyright case would have the opportunity to have their case heard by a jury and possibly convince them that the average listener would confuse the two songs. It seems this is what happened in this case. Michael Bolton appealed the initial verdict, but the appeal failed, with the judges stating they were hesitant to overturn a jury verdict as they were satisfied the law had been applied correctly in reaching their decision. In 2001, Michael Bolton made a bid to have the case heard by the Supreme Court, with support from the Record Industry Association of America, who filed a brief with the Supreme Court supporting his case. Without any comment, the Supreme Court refused, and with all options exhausted, the matter was settled.